like to begin by sharing some messages and warnings as they relate to the prophecies shared specifically by Grandfather Martin. So he speaks of energy grids out of balance, life out of balance. Our world will turn over a fourth time. In relation to this, I share a vision that when I was on top of the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, I touched my Vajra to the center point to the top of the pyramid, asking for purification. And when I did that, I saw a vision of the entire ring of fire lighting up around the Pacific, starting from Popocatépetl, which is the volcano in Puebla. And the awakening of this mountain, or the awakening of this volcano, signifies the beginning of the great purification in their tradition. He speaks of the closing of the cycle, relating it to the ceremony of the condor and the eagle, great solar storms, a rebirthing, a readjusting of the Earth and other planets. He says we're past the novelty point and we need balance. We are going to experience waves and water higher than the trees, winds like never before, upwards of 200 to 300 miles an hour. We are returning to the one heart, one race, which they refer to as the green race. Life will merge into a multi-dimensional reality as a normal way of living. The sky and the stars will change before our eyes, meaning they won't be in the same positions. The systems, as our hearts, will be merging as one. This is the outdated systems in society, merging and shifting toward more balance. This is what they call the great becoming, the all-knowing in Tibetan or Buddhist culture, Buddhahood, in religions or Christianity, Christhood or Christ consciousness. In spirituality, we call it cosmic consciousness. The world markets will crash. There will be civil wars. World starvation will happen due to market collapses. Happened in 2008, happened in the Great Depression. It's potentially going to happen now. We will have huge droughts and fires. Sun cycles could hit and be a restart button, wiping out all electronic equipment, electronics, computers. The sky will appear to have two suns. We will need to save organic and heirloom seeds for survival. Death, as we remember it, will no longer exist. We will live in multiple worlds or dimensions. The good-hearted will become superhuman. We will be able to go into the earth and reconnect with our higher beings. Masao's instructions, he shares, live simply, respect the road path, love the earth. You are not separate. Respect resources, honor all beings. He also speaks of a treasure which will benefit people buried, and it must remain so until the end of the third big war. If it is uncovered before, people will be slain. He also says, if war happens here, don't pick up your weapons. Engage with nonviolence. Return to simplicity. Celebrate life. Respect all life. Pray for all life. For your family, for your loved ones, for your crops, for your food, your community, for peace. Believe in prayer. Follow the Hopi pattern of life. Be peace. Live simply. Practice humbleness. Be self-sustainable. Change your priorities. Work with the earth. Change your attitude. Love the environment. Observe the cycles and seasons. Pray for all life. Embrace your traditions. He reminded me we can shift disasters on earth and change it through our intentions and prayers. So I'd like to continue with my third journey to Hopi land to meet with Grandfather Martin. And this time I took a dear friend with me. Her name is Robin Woolley. And I figured it was time to bring forth some people that are close to me to pay witness to the experience. I call it returning home. This is the third direction. A magical journey as always. This time I took my good friend Robin with me. I have always gone to Hopi land by foot, hitchhiking from Flagstaff. This time was a luxury. Robin drove from Santa Fe and back. Robin came on the first 1320 caravan for the campaign for the new time. She's a very giving, in-service type of gal, super solid and very experienced in Indigenous communities, as she's been a social worker and counselor for close to 30 years working with Hopi and Dene youth. I felt that it was important for me to go to Hopi for the first few times alone to really establish my relations and not appear to be just another tourist. So traveling with Robin was a gift. To have her support and solid energy behind me was amazing. We drove from Santa Fe in the early afternoon and arrived at Kokotsmovi sometime in the late evening, so we decided to grab a room and some dinner at the cultural center for the night. Immediately after waking for sunrise and resting well, we hopped to it and went on a mission to go and see Grandfather Martin and Susie Lomatska. The road down from Kokotsmovi to Susie's is pretty rough due to heavy rains days prior, especially for Robin's small little pickup. And since the vehicle was taking a beating, we decided not to keep driving and turned back towards Hotevilla. Upon arriving, we went directly to Emery's place to find Martin. Sure enough, Granddad was sitting there in his chair by himself in his multi-dimensional dream world. "I missed you," I said. Martin smiled at me. "Well, hello. Where have you been?" He pointed to his ears. "I can't hear anything." I asked. "Nothing at all?" Shrugging my shoulders. "No, it's gone. I can't hear anything anymore," he said. "Those people have been magicking on me because they're mad I'm speaking to you." "You have to write everything down," Emery suggested. From there on in for our visit, I would have to write notes constantly to communicate with Grandfather Martin. I asked, "Do you really believe that they cast spells on you to make you deaf so we can't communicate anymore?" His response was yes. I asked, "Are they still playing games with you and treating your family badly?" Emery then came into the conversation and said, "Everyone is talking. They are so threatened by what you guys are talking about. In the past, when Martin simply shared the prophecies and warnings with people, like he often did, they'd go back home, put the information on the internet, or write a book and say that Martin told them they could do it. So now what happens is, whenever anything like this happens, people look to blame and attack our family for it." I said, "That's a shame that there's so much fear and games going on, but I do understand that many before me have come here and fully disrespected the information and taken advantage of Martin and other elders like David. So Hopi are skeptical and fearing we're up to the same thing. It's a shame you are all suffering from it, but hopefully someday you will realize that I am not just another white man here to take advantage of everyone, that I walk in integrity." I questioned Grandfather Martin in reference to his move to Emery's and Mildred's house. "Did you bring all your special sacred things with you from your house?" Martin replied, "Yes, they're all outside," pointing to the shed. "What about the codexes and scrolls and other things that I had brought you? You still have them too?" He nodded, yes. Still in disbelief, I asked, "Can you hear anything?" "Nothing," he replied. "I'm getting old now. My ears don't work, and my head is rotten." He giggled. I said, "Old? Ah, go on. You're getting younger." As I winked at him to let him know I was teasing, I said, "You're still young and youthful like a child." Martin laughed. I wrote to him, "We've shared many things over the years. Do you remember?" He smiled. "Yes, of course. I'm old now. I'm retired." He winked back at me. I responded by writing down some of the subjects and things that we'd shared. "You gave me the return path teachings, and I gave you a promise to return again and again to learn this well, but to also ensure you the return of the fire tablet, and I would make sure it's back with you, who it should be with." Then I said, "I also gave you 2 banners, a peace banner and a banner showing the circles of time, the connection between consciousness and time." He nodded. "I also gave you those chalice pieces that were broken at the ceremony of the condor and the eagle." Though Martin is aging and appears to be absent-minded to others, it's obvious he is still retaining memory, at least of that which is important to him, because he nodded again. "Remember last time I was here, we spoke a lot about those tablets and where they are?" He nodded. "Well, a good part of this trip is to solve that for you. You've been waiting your whole life, holding on to this vision and these instructions. I'm going to do my best to help fulfill this for you, okay?" He said okay with a smile. "I have also been in touch with the Dalai Lama's administration, as I mentioned last time, but I'm not so sure they showed him the letter that I wrote. I put forth your request to meet with him in your kiva. I will keep trying, and hopefully he or they will listen." "How will they understand it?" Martin asked innocently. "In the same way he understood you last time they were here. He understands. He writes and speaks English too. Last time I was here, you asked me to find him for you and tell him to come here, remember?" "Yeah, but he's not coming," Martin said with a hint of doubt. I responded, "He's a busy man. Everybody wants to see him. He's always very busy." Martin giggled. "I've been waiting a long time for him to come back." I went back to the tablet subject with him. "So the Hopi and Tibetans are brothers. They have the yellow tablet and you have the red tablet, right?" "Yes, but they," referring to tribal council, "took it from me." I went on to say, "Well, they had no right in doing so because it's yours, your family, your clan's right. You have been selected to be the keeper of the fire tablet many years ago. Tribal council took it from him because they said he didn't have permission and was somewhat of a renegade. Meanwhile, he needs nobody's permission because he's the rightful keeper and was entrusted to do so by his uncle, Yukyuma. I'm going to talk to these people and make sure this tablet is returned to you or its rightful keeper. This is totally wrong, and it's one of my commitments to you. Grandfather Martin smiled. They won't listen to you, I replied by saying, they will because I'll drive them nuts. He giggled and said, there are two. I responded by saying, we spoke about this the last time, and I've come to believe that the red tablet, which is for the red race, and then also they have the fire tablet, which has been taken from you. And yes, it's not theirs to keep. Any other people doing these sorts of things would be in jail. The tablet Martin has been the chosen keeper of possesses the written map of the final prophecies and coming fifth world. He has told me very confidently that this tablet, made of earth, was made by Creator, the same way Prophecy Rock was inscribed, including the tablets that Moses carried. They were written by lightning. There are many tablets representing many purposes of sanctity with various cultures, which the Hopi have passed on to other nations throughout history. Included in these are a special set of tablets, which is said to come together as one in the coming fifth world, uniting all cultures as one. Martin refers to this as the green race, as he did when he indicated that after I showed him the green castle of time, which we are now in. These tablets correspond to the world indigenous colors of the four original races and the four directions of which they represent. There are 4 tablets in total, the Hopi being the keepers of the red and the west, which I am told also includes the Maori, the white being north, the yellow representing the Tibetan, the south, held by the Dogon people of Africa. You've been in my dreams, I told Martin. You've been coming to me a lot lately, and I'm really feeling to keep moving forward with my contract and also help to relieve this responsibility and extra weight off your shoulders. I want to bring this full circle for you. He replied, it's too late. It's happening now. These things are getting onward. People are not listening. We tried many times. To the United Nations, Santa Fe, different talks here and there, but nobody listens. Martin has held this dear to his heart and lived this his full life traditionally as an example to his culture, community, and family. However, unfortunately, he isn't so convinced, nor is he optimistic as I am, perhaps. He doesn't see much change, maybe because he's specifically in Hotevilla and simply just doesn't get to experience some of the positive things happening in the world these days. I told him, as I'd had several times, your work and efforts are not in vain. People see and hear you and the Hopi. We honor your message and we love you. But many people are also asleep. So we have to keep trying until we know we've tried all we can. And I will keep this message alive and keep sharing it. I said to him, don't feel bad, Martin. You've been a great example. We love you. Fear is what took those tablets from you. But Creator will take care of it. Meanwhile, we must focus on waking up people and offering them a solution. He then walked over to a small pile of personal belongings and once again brought me the replicas of the fire tablets and then asked me to read it. I went on to explain that the symbols and the messages within. You showed me this a few times. We must return these to you and close this cycle for the purification. The missing piece has 2 serpent heads on one side and 1 on the other, I mentioned. Martin is also beginning to lose his memory, understandable in some ways for his age. He jokes about it and says his head is rotten. I'm old. Since before I can remember becoming physical, I made a contract with myself and spirit that I would serve in reestablishing balance in these times and would serve in whichever way I was directed. I pleaded and begged to be in service in my prayers. I promised you I would record my experiences with you and share them as you have shared with me, and I will follow through on that promise. So I said to Martin, Agartha, you showed me this map. And I put this map in front of him. You showed me this map 4 years ago and you said, that's where you will go. And then he showed me the article about his trip to Santa Fe. How does that article make you feel? He responded to me, not good. They don't trust me. But I was going on what my elders told me. Those trees started making flowers in February. So I went, which is ultimately the signal that he was told to wait for. It's okay, Granddad. You know that thousands of people around the world honor Hopi and love and appreciate you for everything that you have done in keeping these messages alive. Your efforts come from love for this earth. Thank you for this. I have made it my main focus currently in my life to study these messages and teachings and share them as you have with me. I want to help by sharing, but only with your blessings. It's too late. Nobody will listen. How will you do it? He said. I will share my experiences with you, my story, and never give up until this has been fulfilled. This is my promise to you and my promise to Spirit. So how many years young are you now? I'm old, 85. Ah, you're getting younger. You still have the heart and curiosity of a child. 2 years ago, we worked in your garden. Was that the last season that you grew? He says, yes, I'm getting lazy. I looked at him. I said, you are the last person I'd call lazy. Martin has walked 5 to 6 miles a few times a week for over 70 years tending to his gardens. I planted with him and also Dennis the Hopi way a couple of times. The Hopi garden and plant with nothing but love. On our hands and knees, digging each hole with your hands and a planting stick. Creating that special home the Hopi way so the seed receives enough water for germination. Praying with each group of seeds, 5 per hole. The beans are dug up to your wrist. The corn to your elbow. The whole process is done with deep intention and care. It's no wonder Hopi have been growing miracle crops over centuries in what many refer to as desert sand. It's because of the alchemy and love that they put into that makes it possible. So I say to him, you worked your whole life. Now it's time to relax. You walk everywhere. Most people can't walk a mile. Let's go to the dances later. We did prayers at the spring. Robin and I, we went down there to the sacred spring. This is the last living spring in Hopi land. Hotevilla has fortunately not lost their spring due to Peabody's mining fiasco. This spring is where the elders of Hotevilla drink and bathe from. It's their primary water source. I feel it's their gift for remaining strong during the challenges and changes, keeping Hotevilla and the sacred shrine alive. They recently built up a nice area surrounding and protecting the spring with rock, and it looks fabulous. There are stone seats to sit and enjoy the sound of the water or beautiful view. Hieroglyphic replicas and symbols are in a few places, and the shrine at the spring is now protected by a stone cave. We ask that the water remain protected, that each and every person enjoying that water be blessed and feel the energy, the healing of it. We ask for the rains to continue bringing the Hopi the waters, the abundance that they need, for the Kachinas to be with us and keep life in balance with these rains. I said to Martin, want to go to the cultural center? Eat some dinner, meet you at the dance at like 5 or 6. Martin says, yes, come back. So we went to watch the dances, but it felt as though we were intrusive because it was not a social dance, more so a private Hopi dance, which is not generally open to the public. So after a brief peek, we strolled back and picked up the car to go and hang out at Prophecy Rock. I was showing Robin the rock, the road plan, and the truth machine, as Martin calls it. The path on the road plan that seems to be disappearing, which joins 2 paths together, is somehow present again. What does that mean? My theory is maybe the rock is an oracle. Perhaps humanity is choosing to take the path of harmony? Let's hope so. After a couple hours, we went back for Martin to go eat dinner with him. Let's go eat. We will have a smoke and pray to the Creator. And so we did at sunset. We were taught the Hopi way of prayer and how to intentionally offer cornmeal to the earth. I mentioned to Martin that cornmeal came from a Kachina carver named Glenn Fred. As we arrived to the museum, I returned back to the car. The woman said, the museum's closed, but I'm sure we can find something good to eat. You have anything good on the menu you want to eat? This is our treat. After listening to the band on deck, I jokingly said to Martin, why don't you get up there and show those guys how to play music? He giggled. I then inquired, since you can't hear anything, can you feel the music? He nodded. He asked me exactly where I live these days. Same places, BC, Canada, Mexico in the winters. Here and there, Spirit has told me I cannot settle until my work is complete. Again, I joked, so are you going to get up there and sing us some songs? That band needs a singer. I then commented, you're full of knowledge, like a living library. I appreciate everything you have shared with me. Robin said to Martin, Chris has been talking about you for years. It has been nice to see you and put a face to all the stories. Chris tells big stories. I then backed Robin's statement. We shared many hours of traditions and history that you've taught me. I've been sharing them with people that I met all over the continent, but eventually, with your blessings and permission, I'd like to travel and share the return path. I would like to receive your support and blessings to continue sharing this. The teachings I share are exactly how you tell them to me. People everywhere are listening and slowly making positive changes. It inspires people. Upon walking back to Hotevilla, we went into Martin's shed alone for 4 hours, and he shared, as we always do. For the first time, I connected my laptop to show Martin some images I collected from my studies and some symbols associated with Maya, Hopi, and Tibetan culture. I told him these were the images and symbols I would include as part of the return path. He gave me a grin of acknowledgement. I then drew the 5 swastikas in the Destiny Castle pattern as illustrated in the dream spell. This was a connection between Hopi and Maya, and the commonality linking you to the Tibetans. Martin then drew the twins, 2 swastikas, facing each other. They represent 2 brothers. I began to scroll through images and pictures with Martin, indicating what each one was. The swastika, the Nazis stole it from India. It means brotherhood, but when it's used incorrectly, it represents domination, duality, and chaos. India's culture is thousands of years older than Germany, an ancient symbol going all the way back before the Buddha. This is Hunapku. The Maya use this symbol for creator and the central sun, and these are Aztec symbols. This is Teotihuacan. This is the Pyramid of the Sun. Originally, it was a temple of water dedicated to Tlaloc. This whole temple site used to be surrounded in water, I told him. This is a sunspot solar cycles map. It represents the Inca and Maya, showing and representing the upcoming sunspots. This is all about 2012. That's what these warnings and prophecies are about. The beginning of a new cycle. This is the Universal Peace Banner. I gave it to you. Remember? This is the banner when we first met. It will protect the culture and traditions of Hopi by international law. You should fly it. This should be flying above Hopi land. The man who created it, Nicholas Roerich, received it from Agartha. The 3 circles represent art, science, and spirituality surrounded by culture. These are the newest crop circles. Look at this one. It looks like a Mayan calendar. This is a ceremony to close the 4th world. So now we're beginning the 5th. Martin says to me, yes, the earth is getting onward with these things. It will change a lot. The wicked people will die or be purified, and ones with good hearts will go onward. Soon 2 suns will appear in the sky, and the stars are going to start changing too. We Hopi are knowing these things. There will be big problems in the economy next year, and the sun will begin to get brighter. We will be in a new light, and if we are not in our hearts and strong, we will get sick. This place is safe. Our elders told us this. Soon there will be a lot of starvation and people will be fighting for food and water. People will need to make a choice now. From there, I continued to share more images and pictures with him, showed him Mayan Aztec priest Quetzalcoatl, the first language of Ur, the Futhark runes, a symbol that I created that was a combination of the Sri Yantra and the Unabku. And then I spoke to him about Tequacachi, which is 44 newsletters written by Hopi explaining their traditions. I showed him a picture of my grandfather and shared my Haudenosaunee background with him and the flag. I showed him pictures of my medicine elders from the Wirarica Huichol Nation, Don Custodio, Don Jose Ramirez, and then also an image of the medicine Buddha. And then I explained to him the return path experiences will have many of these images and pictures in it. Also, all of the teachings that you gave me, including this book, has very powerful information in it. I pulled out the Ancient Arrow Wingmaker's book Martin gave to me after our first visit and encounter, which came with many warnings. I said to him, remember this book? He gave it to me after our first time together and warned me about keeping it safe, except somehow some other people working with this put it on the internet now. They call it the Wingmakers. The government wants us to believe it's a hoax, but many people believe it's true, especially with that site there in Chaco Canyon. They've blocked it off now with military. So if it was false, why would the military block it off? The interviews and universal laws are what I really find helpful and interesting. Martin says, it's good. Share that with people. It's good. They have been hiding it from us. After our annual download and sharing, we went into the house and Robin and I prepared to depart. However, it was so important to me to communicate in the presence of Emery and Mildred because they are Martin's closest family and ultimately his support. It feels good to me to have the blessings of his family, especially with some skepticism present regarding his aging mind and hearing. Robin and I were welcomed into the house to share dinner. Shortly following dinner, I addressed Emery and Mildred. I just really want you, your family, Martin, and any Hopi involved in this to know I deeply respect and honor our connections and brotherhood we share. I would never take these messages and teachings out of context, exploit or abuse this information, or try to profit from it. It's not my soul. It's not my way. I couldn't live with myself. I love Martin and all of you. My community, the global family, appreciates you very much. I will continue to go deep and get these messages clear so we can create balance again together. I will keep returning until it feels good. I then told Martin in writing what I was saying to Emery. I'm talking about my love and deep respect for you and what you are sharing. I love you. Martin said, You're a smart guy. And he giggled. I said to him, I have a good teacher. I do my best to live this every day. It's also my life path. You're a good example. I winked at him. I insisted to Martin, Don't give up. I put my arms around him, gave him a big hug, looked him in the face, and mouthed the words, We love you. And then I wrote, Peace and balance are coming, okay? It will get a bit crazy, but then it'll be better. Robin shared with Martin, Everything gives us an opportunity to move our shadow side and get into our hearts and channel light. Our earth is cleaning herself, as are we, us humans. And we can only live the example we want to be in the world. We, Chris and I, come and go with a good heart, a good mind, in a good way. Thank you for staying in our dreams. We love you. As I hugged Martin, I said, We will go now. Never give up hope. Peace is coming. I will finish what you started and share it. We love you very much. I will see you again next year. I spoke to Lee this morning down at the Hopi tribal office, and we talked about the fire tablet. So next time I come back, we will solve this and close the cycle. You've waited long enough. I promise. I'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank you for your patience and for sticking with this and being open to receiving and hearing and listening to these teachings and messages. It means so much to our Hopi elders. And so long, these prophecies, messages, and warnings have been shared and kept for these days, in this time, for us, in this moment.